You are listening to the USDN on the DSPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. The universe is a dirty place, and somebody has to clean it up. For Margo, that means another day as an overworked, underpaid, intergalactic trash collector, hauling garbage across the cosmos, and somehow finding herself in the middle of disasters that could threaten the entire universe. But Margo's journey didn't begin among the stars. Creator Jim Wyden first started developing the character more than 2 decades ago, before bringing Margo Intergalactic Trash Collector to Kickstarter in 2015. What followed was an independent comic that refuses to disappear. Through crowdfunding, the direct market, news stories, strange aliens, space vampires, and artwork from comic book legends like Joe Sinnott and Joe Staton, Margo continued fighting her way back into the reader's hands. Now, 11 years after the first Kickstarter campaign, Jim is bringing those adventures together in a 112-page collected edition. Margo, Intergalactic Trash Collector, Apocalypse in Pink. But this isn't just about looking backward. With the new Margo series planned for 2027, Apocalypse in Pink represents both a celebration of where this universe has been and the launching point for where it's going next. But this isn't just about looking backward. With the new Margo, 11 years after Margo first made her way into Kickstarter, the universe is still a very dirty place, and somebody still has to clean it up. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Nerds is now in session. Jim, welcome to the USDN, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I got tongue-tied and lost there for about half a second. I had to get that intro out because that was a good one.
When I saw the cat behind you.
Oh, yeah. I got 2 of them. Like, I don't know if you've seen the other one.
Oh, yeah, I see the other one. I got 5.
I got 3 of them, and if it was up to my daughter, I'd have 5 more on top of those 3. So, but let's dive into it, Jim. So before Margo was an intergalactic trash collector, she started with sketches and notes, going all the way back to around 2002 under the working idea SCOW.
Yeah, Scow.
Yeah.
Scow was the working title when I started designing Margo, as in, the garbage ships that would pick up the trash, like in the harbor they do in New York. You see them rolling out every day.
Yep.
And as I started to develop the series and things started going along, I said, why not just call her Margo? And I talked to a couple of friends of mine who are creators, like, yeah, go with just Margo Intergalactic Trash Collector. And, it's a long mouthful, but it works.
It works. It works so well. It really does.
It's funny because I had given a copy to Walt Simonson. He's like, what a great title for a book. And I was like, well, here you go. Can I get a picture of you holding it? So, yeah, I did.
So, but this is a great piece of your own history, though, buried in the premise. So you worked on a garbage truck when you were younger to earn money to buy comics. How much of Jim ended up in this overworked, underpaid trash collector? And who would rather just do her job but just keeps getting herself dragged into all these cosmic disasters?
Yeah, I did. My grandfather, my uncles, my father, they had a family garbage business. And as a kid, I worked on the truck maybe for a buck or two a day, and that would buy
Mhm.
me like 5, 6 comics, at 12 cents a piece, and I would save up the money and go. And sometimes I'd even find comics in the garbage and save them.
That's
And
cool.
it was an interesting job. It was a dirty job, but also kind of like it was a little embarrassing to be the garbage collector's kid. So there's a
Yeah.
little bit of that in Margo, and Margo doesn't want to be a trash collector. Part of her backstory is that she wanted to be a pilot for
Hmm.
the Corps, and she couldn't make it. She got kicked out. I'm developing a story about how she got kicked out, and then her mom gets her a job with the Intergalactic Waste Management Company, sort of modeled after our own collection trash company we have around here with the bins. And so her mom gets her she's sort of a nepo baby. She gets her job, and her mom's a little overbearing, won't
Oh
let
yeah.
her forget it, and keeps reminding her of what she owes and how good the company's been to them.
Hmm.
And so she doesn't want to be, she wants to pilot a ship, so she can't work for the Corps, so she basically becomes a trash collector. Still gets to fly, but hates the job doing it.
I love it. Like the whole premise of this is so amazing. But Margot isn't this traditional squeaky clean science fiction hero. She's opinionated, reckless, capable, but sometimes creates the very problems that she has to get herself out of. Who is Margot, though, when you strip away the spaceships, the aliens, and this cosmic insanity of her world?
Well, when they say, the expression goes, write what you know about. And I
Hmm.
would say there's a lot of me in that character because I've made a lot of rash decisions. I've done a lot of things that, spur at the moment that got into trouble. And so what happens with Margot in the first issue, she makes a decision to get out of trouble, but that rash decision causes more trouble down the line and it begins to snowball into something that endangers the universe. So it deals with the repercussions of your decisions, and
Hmm.
Margot seems to step in it all the time, and it actually gets a little further into trouble than she should based on her decisions.
I can identify. I think I'm prior service, so I can remember being that 18, 19-year-old kid and getting into those troubles that, if I do this, I'll get myself out of this trouble.
Hmm.
No, it just
Yeah.
gave it more trouble on top of the trouble you were already going to be in. So
Well, and
I, I can relate,
she releases a virus that consumes everything, and
but I never did anything that crazy. Okay.
and so it begins to, so she thinks everything's fine. She goes off and she goes back to her job collecting trash. Meanwhile, this thing begins to devour the universe, and it gets in because the corrupt company she works for was trying to weaponize this thing before she got a hold of it. They it it gets into their systems and finds a way to take over the company, and then it just begins to expand across the universe. And Margot has to deal with it. She gets sent out. She's told, "It's your mess. Clean it up." And so she goes out to take care of it. And so yeah, it's about what the repercussions of a quick decision to fix things happens. And
Mhm.
so the three issues tie in together, and wraps up the with Apocalypse and Pink being what happens in the third issue because the monster's pink, and everything
Mhm.
he absorbs becomes pink. So hence the title Apocalypse and Pink.
Yeah, that's so cool though. Like the way it makes it make sense. You know.
And then I did a one shot for that series too after that, which I wanted to try working with different creators. I
Mhm.
wanted to see through different creators' eyes how Margo would look. So I hired Joe Sinnott to do a cover for me. This was before he passed away. It was probably one of the last things he did. And so I got to draw the cover and had him ink it, sort of like the Kirby relationship, which was just
Yeah. Yeah.
true. And he was such a nice guy. He helped me promote it. We did an opening at the local convention here, And then also Joe Staton, who probably will be doing some more Margo work. I've talked to him in the future. He's interested
Mhm.
in some covers. He'll be doing some probably some alternate covers for me. And yeah, so and also the stories were one is about Margot's origin. It was called The Applicant, and it talks about her applying for the job and sort of what I talked about before, being a Nepo baby.
Mhm.
Her mom gets their job, and it goes into her mom taking her to work, and then flashes to the present day when she's applying for the job, and she's got this training officer who actually is an alien and tries to infect her with this alien species, and she has to fight it off. And then the company's been observing, comes in, breaks everything up, and she gets the job because she helped turn
Lawsuits.
lawsuits. No lawsuits, sign an NDA, and you can work here.
Exactly.
So that's sort of the first story, and then the Spaced Vampire. I worked with Marcelo Trom. I broke down the story for him, wrote the story, and colored it, lettered it, and let him. I worked with Marcelo for a while before he passed away. I was publishing his Infinite Punishment series for a while, and we were working together.
Mhm.
And he passed away young. And
I hate to hear that, man.
yeah,
Especially after we've lost so many people this week,
mhm,
and this, it's been a rough week for everybody
yeah,
with the
yeah.
losses this week. But you've allowed her to evolve visually and personally from those earlier designs to now the orange jumpsuit and the goggles, and from a more absorbed employee into somebody very capable of becoming the hero the universe needs. How important has it been to kind of like let Margo actually change rather than keeping her frozen as the character that you created 20 plus years ago?
Oh, it's been very important to the character. One of the things that as I worked with the character, was realizing that she's on a hero's journey, and she doesn't start from that position. And she's, I mean, similar to the hero's journey, basically is the Odyssey, really,
Yeah.
in mythical terms. So she's on her own version of the Odyssey, and rather than becoming self-absorbed and spiteful about the job, eventually things will turn where she'll become the hero the universe needs. But she's got to realize it first.
Mm-hmm.
In the newer story, at the end of the very third issue, Apocalypse in Pink, the, all these Margo variants invade the universe, and she managed to send them back, but two escape.
Mm-hmm.
So in the next Margo series, she has to deal with these two variants, and they both live very different lives. One was abused, and the other one had a very different life. And so she faces these two different versions of herself, and basically it's sort of a mirror held up of like what her life could have been and what
Yeah.
it could be. So one is angry because her life was terrible, and the other one is just wants to be a hero and wants them to reach their full potential. So she has to deal with this aspect of herself, and it kind of pushes her along a little bit more in that direction as we go into the
Mm-hmm.
next series. So it's important for me to move the character along, and I also do little short stories where it's like she's on a little garbage run, and we have something that happens, that's just, it's quick, it's fast, it's out of there. And then the longer story arcs I like to do.
Yeah. So what began with Margo eventually expanded into crews, aliens, monsters, employee records, ship schematics, technology, and stories like Space Vampire. When did you realize you weren't just simply making stories about Margo anymore? You were building this entire Margoverse, we'll call it.
Hmm. Well, I loved Silver Age comics. I grew up reading Silver Age comics, and the
Mm.
schematics they would have of like the Baxter Building,
Yep.
spaceships, and also kind of like team books too.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, can I have a team come in once in a while, but still have solo adventures? And
Yeah.
that idea really appealed to me. It was like, okay, I could have Margo do a little solo adventure, but then I could have this team come in and pull her ass out of the fire occasionally.
Hmm.
And so I think it was an interesting way to expand the universe. And as as you begin to write these characters, you start to write their backgrounds. So what's their motivation? Why are they
Yeah.
here? What do they want? Um, and so that became a really interesting thing as I began to do it. One of the things that I have a lot of fun with is designing the aliens and the monsters. And a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
the background panels. There's a scene where she's in a bar, and I got to design each one of the characters. And someday I'm hoping to do little trading cards of each of the aliens and
Yeah.
monsters.
Oh, that'd be really cool. That would be really cool. But you grew up loving the larger than life storytelling of the Silver Age, like you just mentioned. How did you take that sense of imagination and adventure and make it feel like Jim Whiting's universe instead of simply recreating what influenced you from that Silver Age?
You know, when I was in art school, they always, there was uh, there was an expression. It's like you steal what you don't know, and eventually it becomes your own. So
The
you
Stan Lee method.
start out with something that influences you, and eventually it becomes your own because you add your own influences to it. So the idea when we went back to we were talking about Scow was pretty much in the line of like what I grew up reading, and then
Mhm.
as I progressed and started to add my own stuff, it began to evolve into something much different. You know, so you start with what you know, and then eventually it mutates into your own sort of creation.
Yeah. It's cool. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, you sent me some of the pages to look
Mhm.
at when you sent me great media pack, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That was fantastic. I wish everybody had a media pack like
Well,
that.
I
I've
did a
been
little
doing a
research
lot of
before I
I've been
sent
doing
it
a
out.
lot of mentoring about
Uh,
those.
I do a podcast, or not a podcast. I do a Substack newsletter called Creating
Mhm.
Comics, and I do a lot of behind the scenes process stuff of what I'm working on
Yeah.
currently. And so it's fun. I get sometimes into inking and shadow work, and then other times I go
Mhm.
into lettering and production. And lately, since I'm doing this Kickstarter, I'm going into Kickstarter and
Yeah.
what it's taking for me to do that. I think one of my last ones was I'm stuck in production hell, or well, pre-launch
Pre-production hell,
hell.
yeah.
Pre-launch hell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I read it. But
yeah.
if anybody else out there wants to read that, it'll be in the description below if you want to check out his Substack. But let's talk about Apocalypse in Pink. So,
Mhm.
for somebody discovering Margo for the very first time through this Kickstarter, which also linked down in the description, what is Margo Intergalactic Trash Collector Apocalypse in Pink? What kind of ride are readers getting when what kind of ride are readers getting when they open this 112 page collection? Another mouthful. Holy hell.
Well, they're getting a not only a science fiction story, they're getting an adventure, they're getting comics the way I like to do them, and hopefully they walk away saying this is something different. I don't know what's going on here, but I sure want to read more.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm hoping that they get into the energy of Margo. And I hope that, I've had a lot of people come up to me at shows and say, I really like your artwork. It reminds me of so and so and so and so. I mean, I have a very definite Kirby influence, and people recognize it. And it's like, well, I
Yeah.
really like that. And it's like, that's exactly my influences there. And they show, but it took me a long time to develop my own style.
Mhm.
And, for an artist to be recognizable is important, I think, uh, for to develop that brand and that style.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm hoping that it's a lot of fun for the reader, and I want them to hopefully enjoy, have a little laugh, a little
Mhm.
snort of laughter, and then want to read more.
That's it right there. I mean, to me, like, if people read it and enjoy it and they have those moments where they kind of like people look at you and you go, what in the hell is he reading? And why is it so funny?
Mhm.
Then you, as a writer and artist, have absolutely done that job 100%.
Well, the comics I like the most are the ones that are different.
Mhm.
They're not the same thing over and over again. And I think, if you can offer up something different, I mean, yes, it's familiar in a lot of ways. There's familiar tropes, but it takes on a different life of its own. And those are the comics that I like to read. There's
Mhm.
originality in them, and not just the cookie cutter stuff that
Yeah.
I a lot of particularly the bigger companies. I mean, I grew up a fan of the bigger companies, but now a lot of stuff feels very cookie cutter.
Mhm.
And so a few years back, I switched to buying basically just creator-owned books only,
Yeah.
because well, not only after going through so many changes of the continuity, I couldn't follow it anymore. I you know I
I know
also
exactly. Yeah.
yeah I just ended up going with creator-owned stuff, and
Mhm.
actually I even stopped buying superhero books mostly
Yeah.
because I felt like the same tropes were over and over again, and was there
Mhm.
anything left to say? I just didn't find it something I really wanted to read.
No, yeah. When I got back into comics, and I was like, I'm not doing DC. Well, let me rephrase. I'll still read Swamp Thing.
Hmm.
I'll still read anything related to Hellblazer,
Hmm.
Vertigo, and when they were doing DC Black Label before they reverted to that back to Vertigo. Those books were dark, and it gave you a different side of DC out way from the superhero stuff. And I absolutely love that kind of stuff. Marvel, I really don't touch anymore.
Hmm.
But did it? Everything else was like Image. I love because the limited run series by independent creators,
Hmm.
and Boom Studios. I still love IDW. Dark Horse is doing really great stuff. Mad Cave,
Hmm.
Ignition Press,
Hmm.
Source Point Press is back and coming again.
Yeah.
And I really like pure independent comics done by real people who could be your next door neighbor. That's the stuff where I feel like you're getting more original stories.
Hmm.
You're getting those books that you could tell when they were written and drawn, they were
Hmm.
done with love and care, and they gave a shit about the material they were putting out, because they ain't just putting out,
Right.
you know, the cookie cutter stuff. They're putting out something that they themselves want to read and create, and that's what they did.
Yeah, the bigger companies are basically concerned with keeping their characters out there and within a certain frame, and there's no
Mm-hmm.
deviation. And once in a while, to their credit, they'll bring on a big talent, and it'll do well. It's not like the old days where every book was great. There was 9 titles and every one of them was great.
Yeah,
Now it's 900 titles and maybe one or two of them is great.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's changed, and eventually, after working for the bigger companies, the creators realize that they doing their own stuff is better.
yeah.
There's more freedom to do what they want to do. You know,
Yeah, I
there's more
mean, I've
time
gotten to the point now with Marvel and DC, I only will buy a certain cover from a certain artist that I really like. And I'm not going to read the book. I just want the cover because that one artist I like did the cover on it.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the problem I have with buying now. There's not really. I mean, some of the companies are coming out with catalogs, which are great because,
Hmm.
I can't tell by the cover a lot of times with what I'm going to get inside.
Yeah,
So I'll buy the book for the cover, and then I'll get inside it. It's like, well, this doesn't even look the same as what I bought.
yeah,
So that can be a little frustrating. It's like, when they had that in the old days. I'd buy a Jack Kirby cover, and I'd open it up and be Don Heck artwork, and not to demean Don Heck, but at the time I was like, oh, I bought this for the Kirby art, and there isn't. It's only on the cover.
yeah.
So, that has always worked. But what's happening with digital now is I see the catalogs online. I can't tell what's inside unless there's a preview, and very
Hmm.
often there's not. So,
Yeah.
you know, and
So
digital has become a whole new thing with comics.
I'm still a old school guy, and I probably will always be that old school guy. I just love to have the comic book in my hand. The smell of the pages, the texture of the page. I don't think I could ever, like, I read digital comics all the time, obviously, because I mean what I do. But just the weight of the book in your hand, though,
Mhm.
that fresh ink on the page, that to me will always be one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And I just can't see myself purely going, oh, I just do digital comics now.
Mhm.
I don't think I could do that.
No, I couldn't either. I mean, I still have subscription. I still buy books, and actually, even with the subscription, I like to go into the store and look at the racks,
Yeah.
and I like to say, "Hey, that looks pretty cool. I'll try that one. Oh, that
Yeah.
looks pretty cool. Let me try that one." And so
Like,
I grew up buying that way, and I still
mhm.
do it.
I have such a relationship right now with my local comic shop that like I don't even have to go to the shelf no more because if he thinks I will enjoy it, he just sticks it in my box, and if I don't want it, I just give it back to him. Like
Mhm.
he knows me that well at this point where we just that's how we are. Like I know I don't have to go back there anymore unless I just really want to. But he
Mhm.
knows like the artists I like. He knows the style covers I like.
Mhm.
He knows what I'll read, what I won't read, and if he's not sure, he'll just put it in my box. And he's like, I wasn't sure about that one, but if you like it, cool. I'll put it on your list and you can have it. And I'm like, okay, cool.
That's a great relationship to have with your local comic shop.
It
That's the
really is. And
you know
that's
there's
4 years.
there's so few comic shops now, particularly after the pandemic. A
Yeah.
lot of them are closed up, and out of that, let's say the number I've seen floated around is there's probably 2,000 comic shops left. Okay, in the country.
I think there's more than that, but
Okay.
probably not far off from that 2000 number though.
And out of those that carry independent comics, the number is even smaller.
Yeah, I would say that number is probably around 5-10% maybe, if that.
And that's where Kickstarter came in, and basically creators were able to say, okay, I can still create a book and do a small print run and get it right to readers and go directly
Mhm.
to them, and create my own fan base where if the gatekeepers such as Diamond or whoever at the time wouldn't let me in, I could
Yeah.
still a way to do
How'd that work
this.
out for them?
Yeah. And so you see a lot of bigger companies now coming into the Kickstarter sphere because they
Yeah.
realize,
I mean, you look at Coffin Comics, what they did. They were like, hey, we're going to do all our stuff in house. We're not going to trust anybody else with our stuff. We're going to do very small, very limited runs. You go to our website when we have a Kickstarter run, and they're not using Kickstarter. They're using their own internal system they built.
Mhm.
And if you want a particular one, you go, okay, yeah, I kind of like that one. And oh, when's this next issue of this one come out? Oh, it's a Q3. So I'll come back in Q3 and get the next issue of that one title that I want. And then Zenscope completely left. They're on Kickstarter now
Mhm.
because Penguin almost, or not Penguin, but the whole Diamond collapse almost destroyed them.
Yeah.
And now you can get all their books on Kickstarter now.
Mhm.
And there's been a few more that are just like purely on Kickstarter now because they got the,
Well, there's two
you
schools
know,
of thought on that. There's the school of thought that what's happening is the bigger companies see the money and they want it, so they're coming in and they're taking money away from the smaller guys. Okay, so there's
I
less.
hope that's not what they're thinking because I mean, shit, Marvel and DC are billion-dollar companies.
Right. But that's one school of thought. The other school of thought is the bigger companies are going to get more eyes on the Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, but
So
if people are only coming to Kickstarter to get that one thing that Marvel decided they wanted to run a Kickstarter for because it's a Stan Lee
right.
art book or a Jack Kirby art book, which I think is actually on Kickstarter right now,
Mm-hmm.
then is that really people are going to go there simply so they can get that one book, which, oh, by the way, is going to fund within the first couple of hours.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know how many of those. I would have to literally see the statistics on that. On did that book that Marvel did on Kickstarter push other eyes onto other comic books that are on Kickstarter, and how many of those were led to a particular Kickstarter getting new eyes on it and getting backed by those new eyes. I would be very interested to see those
There are
statistics.
some guys on Substack who publish those statistics of what's on this week on Kickstarter.
Mhm.
What are the numbers? Where are they coming from?
Yeah.
They also talk a lot about AI produced product.
Yeah.
You know,
I do wish Kickstarter would start nose off
and not
because
say,
it's become pretty bad.
yeah. There's a lot of books out there where they have a cover and no preview of the artwork inside, basically. And
Oh, you're gonna get me on my soapbox now. I'm a Kickstarter guy. When I'm able to, I give back to Kickstarter, to the people who come on the podcast, to other friends of mine who are running Kickstarters. When I'm able to, 100%. I'm a super backer on Kickstarter, so my actions are there. You can go to Kickstarter, look me up. I'm a super backer.
I believe that it's you get what you give.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to be able to. I give back to the community, right?
No,
People come on my.
Hear the thunder.
Oh, is that what that was? Holy hell!
Thunderstorm.
Where you at?
Hmm?
Where you located?
I'm upstate New York.
Okay, so it's coming my way. Thanks. I'm an East Coastie too, so.
Okay.
But no, I give back to Kickstarters as much as I can. People who come on the podcast with their Kickstarter, and it's 100% me giving back to the community that allows me to be here on a Thursday night talking to Jim Wyden. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some very bad Kickstarters out there. I've seen some amazing Kickstarters out there. And when I land on a Kickstarter page, I'm looking for the components, right?
Yeah.
I want to see, like, a YouTube video is cool. If you had it animated, that's great. It's really not necessary in my eyes, but it's always really cool because there's some really talented people out there who are animating comic books, doing killer jobs, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, show me the proof of concept, 5 to 6 pages of the comic book. It could be like any stage, colored, with lettering, without lettering. It could just be the inks, the art. Give me the proof of concept. Tell me what the story's about, who you were working with. Give me the basic information. But I've landed on some where I was just like, I clicked on it. It looked like their child drew the pages, and I'm just like, no, I'm done. No.
I do a Facebook page where I post every week. It's called Indie Comics or Indie Wire, and I post Kickstarters. There are links to the Kickstarter. Every week I go on and I post 4 or 5 different Kickstarters. And some weeks I'll do the bigger ones, throw in one of the bigger ones, or I'll throw in GoFundMe, or I'll throw in Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
Different platforms. And then I'll also look at, like, here's a guy whose comic, and congrats to him. He had a $6,000 goal and he's got 12,000, and but he doesn't need my help. I'll look for the guys who are like, struggling. It's like, okay, he's got to raise, another $1,000, and it's a good book.
Yeah.
And, he needs the help. So I'll try to post those and push those out if I can,
So how I do it, because of what I do, is the people who've been on the podcast before, like, when I see you post your stuff on Instagram and Facebook, I will immediately, I share it to my story. On Instagram, I reshare it. I add it to my story. And I do that for everybody who's ever been on the podcast. If I see their stuff, I like it, I share it, and post it to my story. And it's just a great habit to have because it's the circle of life, the way I see it.
Yeah.
And taking care of those people who've been on the podcast and being able to just give back that little bit extra through social media, because it doesn't cost me a thing to do it.
No. Well,
it's free.
It's community. You're creating community.
Yep.
Community is important.
And I think Indie Comics has one of the best communities out there. So I really do. And I say this every time somebody's on and we talk about the community of Indie Comics. I mean, it's a phenomenal community. Like, I've never seen a community that would we go out of our way to help each other, to promote each other, and to, like, hey, I'm looking for an artist. I want this kind of style. Does anybody know who can do this? And there's almost probably 20 people that go, hey, yeah, I know a guy, or hey, I am that guy. You know,
Yeah.
and I love to see that. And granted, all spaces have the negativity, but it's not a lot of it within the indie comic world.
No.
So
No.
it's an amazing, amazing community that we are a part of, Jim.
Yeah, I've found a lot of creators I've worked with have been on social media and just, going into the communities and talking to people and
Mhm.
finding out what's going on and people sharing their work. It's a great way to join the community and be a part of the community. And we all grew up loving this medium, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different aspects of it, but there's plenty of it for everybody.
And there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah, there's something for everybody, and there's room for everybody too. I
Yeah.
mean, you can, there's room for the guy who likes sci-fi, or the guy who likes horror, or the guy who likes a different artist, And so, the nice thing about this community is it creates the space for that.
But you're just not simply reprinting stories. You're including character personnel files, ship schematics in this one, alternative covers. You got behind the scenes stuff in it, and artwork, of course, from Joe Sinnott, Joe Staton, Rich Clark, and Marcelo Traum. What did you want this edition to become? What did you want this edition to become that readers couldn't get simply from owning the original issues of Margo?
Well, I did go in because the issue was originally done in 2015, the first issue. And by the time I got to the third issue, creatively, a lot of my vision had changed.
Mhm.
And so I accommodated that and went in and I fixed some things. I think as a creator, I saw some faults in what I did, whether it was a panel that didn't quite work, or and also some of the lettering was inconsistent because there was such a gap in between. So
Mhm.
I wanted it to read as a complete graphic novel because there is continuity between the first three issues. So I wanted the reader to be able to come in and go right through the story without stopping, and read it basically as a complete graphic novel.
Yeah.
So creating that continuity was important to me, and also to capture that era of the three issues as an introduction before I go into the new series. Because the new series does, again, I'm a firm believer in continuity. It will pick up where the last one left off and had some repercussions from the first three issues.
Yeah.
Although it will also, you could pick it up and not have to have read the other issues.
Mhm.
Which
So
is important.
Margo publicly arrived through Kickstarter in 2015, later entered the direct market through Fantaco, continued through additional stories and specials, and now we're landed on Apocalypse in Pink. This represents the third printing of the material. What has allowed this strange little universe to survive for 11 years when so many independent comics disappear after their first releases?
Readers, number one. I'm still getting people come up to me at shows and have never read the book. They're interested in it. And also a lot of hard work.
That's the key right there. A lot of hard work.
A lot of sweat and, hard work, basically. And I believe in this series. And so, through the ups and downs, I keep at it. And it's the series that really encapsulates what I wanted to do in comics. I have taken breaks to do other work. I was basically art director for Fanico for a couple of years. I did some books. I did a collection of Gorgo books. I did Basil Gogo's art book. I also did reprinted this book with Steve Niles I did back in the 90s. We put it together, and that I had to go in and revise some of that and do that. So, and that was the last Kickstarter I did was for this book, and it was a self-contained zombie story. So basically, my introduction was I moved through horror into the comics realm, and then basically expanded. And Margo was sort of an expansion of that into sci-fi adventure stuff. And yeah, I got off here. I forgot where we were.
Oh no, you answered the question 100%.
I'm on a roll here, I guess.
Hey, I believe in asking the question and letting the creator run with it.
So
But you have you said that keeping a creator-owned series in print matters to you. And for an independent creator, what changes when you stop thinking only about making the next comic and start thinking about preserving that body of work so somebody can discover this 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's my school of thought on this. Um, this as a creator, where I am in my creative process, and commercially, and as a creator, is that my best efforts are put into my own original properties.
Mhm.
I still know a lot of guys who, they're going after the dream of drawing for the big two, and that's fine. I don't distract from that, but or demean it. But I feel for me that I get the most satisfaction of doing something that's original,
Mhm.
and so you know, Margo gives me that room to expand and bring things in that are influences and things that I create. And I'm constantly creating, jotting down things on pieces of paper. I've got tons of paper. You can't see the volume
Yeah.
of it here, but I've
I,
got
I have
little notes like
notebooks.
I
Yeah.
got little notes like, oh yeah, we got to do this with Margo, and
Yeah.
then we got to have this guy. And oh, I just sketched this character. He'd be cool to come in.
Mhm.
And so these are things that I save, and then I integrate them slowly as ideas. And being that I do everything myself, things move slow in my universe, and they take time to put together and gel. But I do it eventually,
Yeah.
and that's where the perseverance and the hard work comes in. Eventually, it gets done, and I think keeping as an independent creator, keeping my book in print is important because
Yeah.
I do have a web store. I do sell books through my web store,
Hmm.
and I do comic conventions, and so being able to come out and into a show and have the book on display and talk to people about it is
Yeah.
important. As a
You got
creator.
any conventions coming up?
I do. I just did one in Massachusetts, which was great, Plastic City Comic Con.
Okay.
Um, and then they're having one here in Albany called the Excelsior Comic Con. That's
Okay.
September. And then I'm going to be going to end of September. I'll be at the Albany Comic Con, which is one
Okay.
of my favorites because we get a lot of the local celebrities. Ron Mars,
Yeah.
Joe Staton will be there.
Oh, okay. Nice.
My good friend Janice Chang, who's my sister.
Hmm.
We have a lot of history, and a lot. Like I said, being in this area, there's a lot of talent that basically worked in New York and settled in
Yeah.
this area, so they're all very close. So the Albany Comic Con has a lot of good guests. I think Mark McCone will be there. A few other artists. And so
Yeah.
we get to know each other, and we hang out, and so I look forward to that. I'm a designer too, so I do the flyers for these shows. A lot of
Oh,
those.
nice. That's really cool.
So I design the flyers and I get them printed for them and things like that. There's a couple of shows I do flyers for, and then table at the shows and have
Hmm.
fun. I also
Yeah.
have a big printer, so I'll do posters for them too.
Oh, that's even better. That's really cool. I haven't been to one up that far north yet. You send me an invite, Jim, and I'll come up.
I'll send you the information. They're just starting
Yeah.
to promote it now.
Because I'm doing I got Small Press Expo coming up,
Mhm.
and then I have Baltimore coming up. So I'll be at both of
Been to
those.
Baltimore several times, um, but it got expensive for me to do.
Yes.
I had to split costs with everybody. The hotel room will really knock my socks off last time.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow. But I love doing Baltimore. Baltimore was a great show, and one of my favorite moments was after the awards. Everybody gets together at the bar upstairs, and
Mhm.
Franco was there, and I got to corner him for about 2 hours out in the hall and talk
Yeah.
about his work at Marvel, and
That's really cool.
had a lot of fun meeting one of my heroes.
So Garth Ennis is going to be there this year, and I'm like a schoolgirl. Like I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be working this as press, but I'm not going to pass up on getting a Garth Ennis, signature on something. It's like a mandatory. I have to do it. my inner fanboy is going to show up.
You know,
And the moment I see Garth Ennis, I'm going to be like, you are Garth Ennis, and please sign.
I think my last fan moment there was I had the Frank Miller Artist Edition for Dark Knight, and
Yeah.
I stood in line for him to sign that, and then of course I had to get everybody's signature who worked on the book eventually. But yeah, there's that fan part too, you know.
Yeah, and it's hard to avoid, and I'm going to do my best, but I ain't making no promises on it. That's for sure.
You know, I'll make money at the table, and I'll be like, well, there's some more money I can buy.
But you're in Albany, right?
I'm in Albany, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because Nightmares and Nerdscape, shout out to him. He's also on the network here. His wife is from the Rochester area.
Okay.
You ready for this next one, Jim?
Yeah.
So you spent 4 decades in the trenches working as an illustrator, cartoonist, designer, publisher, letterer, colorist, and production artist. You've seen multiple generations of this industry come and go. What do you understand now about making comics today that younger Jim couldn't possibly understood?
You know, younger Jim was much like Margo, a lot of rash decisions, you know, and believed he knew everything. And so, you know, what I'm finding as I'm getting older, and I started working with particularly some of the creators who were older and who were around, that they have stuff to teach you. And one of the things I wish I had done earlier was to let them mentor me.
Yeah.
And learn from them while you can. You know, hanging out with Joe Sinnott and and other people, and my tastes have varied quite a bit. You know, as I said before, when I was a kid, I did not like Don Heck's artwork, and now I have an appreciation that I didn't have. So my tastes have matured quite a bit more, and I think the industry has changed dramatically from the printing to the whole process of lettering, coloring, all the way down the line. But what seems to have changed the most is it's gotten more direct. You have all this stuff that you didn't have before at your fingertips. The computer now, you can do everything yourself. The difference is it's time to do it. You know, do you have the time to do it all? And that's the part I find, I'm not only the artist now, I'm a marketer too, and I'm the salesperson, and I pack up the packages, and I go to the shows, and I pay the bills. So, having all that stuff is wonderful. But again, there's a small price to pay, is that, it takes time away from the drawing board. Recently with this campaign, I haven't sat down the drawing board in a week, and I feel it. I'm like, I wish I was drawing, I wish I was drawing. But we've gone through things from I was publishing with Fanico when the black and white explosion happened, and the market fell out, and we went from getting numbers from Diamond and from like 9,000 a book to 2,000 a book, or 1,000 a book, and then just watch the bottom start to drop out on everything.
Yeah.
And we've gone through phases up and down. And what's happened is, though, but people find a way to get out what they want. Independents find a way to.
Oh yeah, we'll always find a way.
Yeah, and now you have a direct link to people who want the stuff. So it's a matter of, and I keep telling creators this all the time, is like, create an email list. Talk to the people who want to talk to you. Those are your fans. Those are the ones who are going to stay with you. Those are the ones who are going to look at your stuff, and treat them like, they're there as they should be treated.
Yeah.
So, I encourage people to start with an email list. Start building, go to conventions, sign people up, and then nurture that audience, because they're the ones who are going to buy your stuff.
Oh yeah.
Having that direct connection now is something we didn't have before, because there were always a lot of gatekeepers. You'd have to go through the company danced with the distribution. And there's still some of that. I mean,
Yeah.
the days, a lot of the days when you could just send in your artwork and be done with it and just wait for the books to come out, for most creators, is not there anymore. What is there is in some ways even better, a direct link to the people.
Yeah. Social media has completely changed the way comic books are looked at and the way we do marketing within comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome that we now have this direct link to a potential audience, to a potential fan of what we are doing. And people are making thousands, off of doing it that way, But at the end of the day, it's also reminding people, you see these Kickstarters making tens of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They're also putting thousands of dollars into marketing themselves and putting that Kickstarter in front of people.
Right.
So, and that's how to do it, right? You have to.
You can usually tell when a Kickstarter's floundering right from the beginning that they haven't developed an audience to before they went in, and that's the first thing to do is you bring the crowd with you. I've had creators who they put out a first book and out of curiosity it funded, but then the second book felt like a lump, like a rock, and it was like, why aren't they here? It's like, well, did you nurture them? Did you
and that's the thing about it, right? You have to nurture that audience. Once it's there and you want to keep it there, you have to constantly give it what it needs. You have to nurture it. You have to keep sharing content like, hey, if anybody's wondering, share a page like, hey, I just, we're writing the next chapter of this book. People want to see that you're actively working to produce that next thing for them to enjoy, especially if they backed you on Kickstarter and you're like, hey, this is going to be a 6-issue series. You just backed issue 1, it got made, it was successful, you sent it out, and then people are like, hey, are y'all going to do a part 2? What are you doing?
That's an issue too. The amount of work and what's involved. Some creators don't have the stamina to pay with it.
Yeah, it's a mind game with yourself. Mm-hmm. It is 100% a mind game with yourself.
And it's not always pretty,
Oh no.
It is a lot of work and it's a lot of time alone, and and for some guys who are just writers, it can be very expensive. I mean, you add up costs for hiring an artist, a letterer, an editor, and then printing cost on top. And printing has pretty much gotten very expensive these days too, and shipping. I know creators who didn't count on the shipping being quite so expensive, and it put them, at a loss by the time.
Yeah.
So, and the format is constantly changing. So I do maybe one a year, maybe every 16 months. And by the time I come back, everything's changed.
Yeah.
I relearn it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Kickstarter has digital uploads so people can download the digital books. They didn't have that last year. They have custom links for where people are coming from your website, and they have buy later, and, and of course there's the whole not safe for work debacle that happened for a while.
That was we're not even going to touch that one.
Don't need to get on that soapbox.
No, but so you've worked with Joe Sinnott, Joe Staton, and these aren't simply just names from comic book history. You've had their artwork become part of Margo's history. What was it like seeing characters from your own universe interpreted by artists whose work helped define earlier generations of comics?
Well, what's funny is, seeing it through someone else's lens and what they did to it. And sometimes it worked better than what I was doing. And I said, well, hey, it's my character. I can steal that directly and just do it that way, So it's great. It really is. It's really nice for me, it was affirming of what I'm doing. Seeing, that creator that I grew up liking do do the work on my character, So
Yeah.
that artwork up in my room, and I'll never get rid of it.
Yeah.
Always keep it. And so I like that. And then after I did that, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to go back to me doing it for a while because I really want to tell my stories too.
Yeah.
Nice once in a while, and it's a great thing to do. And with varying covers, it's fun to do too. But
Mhm.
I also have worked with a lot of creators who were starting out. When I was at Fanico, I was also the art director, so I would work with people who were just starting out, and a lot of them, some of them took off and did wonderful, and it's great to see. And
Yeah.
great to work with somebody who's just starting out, and you recognize the talent and you sort of nurture it and
Yeah.
give them a platform to move on to.
Yeah, sometimes that's all they need is just give them that platform and they're going to do it. The drive is there, the want is there, the talent is there, more importantly.
Mhm.
So sometimes you just got to give them a platform and let them cook.
Yeah, yeah. Some guys I know have great talent, and other, but deadlines kill them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's hard work. A lot of they always say you got to love this industry to be in it, because if you're going into it to make money,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, 100%.
And a lot of people
100%.
come in, they see they used to see the Netflix deals and the this
Yeah.
deal, that deal, and we're going right for that. And it's like, you know, if ever that came, that's great. But the idea for me is to just create the best comic that I can create.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And I think if more people just focused on the comic
Mm-hmm.
instead of thinking about 10 years down the road, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm working toward a Netflix, so that's my goal. Well, your goal should be the here and now and getting this comic book out to
Right.
people to enjoy, right? And then if that other part ever happens, then great.
Mm-hmm.
But
There's
yeah,
a
those
guy has a Substack newsletter. I love the title. It's called "Just Read the Damn Comic."
exactly. But so you've described 2015 as something of a golden age for independent comics on
Mm-hmm.
Kickstarter. Now you're preparing another Margo campaign 11 years later, and you recently described the modern process as pre-launch hell. Or see, I told you we were going to circle back on that one.
Yeah.
What happened between Kickstarter 2015 and Kickstarter 2026?
Well, I think in 2015, bringing your own audience wasn't completely necessary. It was a new
Yeah.
platform. People were looking at it. People were excited. You could put up a good project there, and you were pretty much guaranteed to be funded. It was the Wild West.
Mhm.
And so what's happened in the meantime, between people burning people, doing bad projects, not sending them,
Fulfilling them.
and some of it has to do with larger creators coming into the platform too. So there's a whole bunch of different things that have gone on. Now people would prefer your book be done before it goes up.
Yeah.
Back then, the videos were all artists introducing themselves because everybody wanted to
Yeah.
know who you were and what you did.
And I think we should still get that. To be fair, unless you're a vet of Kickstarter, and there's a lot of veteran Kickstarters out there,
Mhm.
but if you're that new guy coming up and this is your very first Kickstarter, I personally want to see a video of you introducing yourself in your comic book to the people.
Mhm.
To me, that makes 100% sense.
Mhm.
Before you go using a lot of money to make that that video of your comic book be animated, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Whether it's on your social media platform, wherever it may be. If your Kickstarter page has a link to your Instagram and it's a video of you doing a personal introduction,
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, I'm Jim Bob Fred, and
Mhm.
I got this Kickstarter called this."
Mhm.
Awesome! I love to see that because it tells me that you're serious about this and you really want people to get to know you and the actual thing that you are attempting to create and fund, whether the art is done or not, or the book is done or not. You've given me what I needed to know that, okay, hey, there's a face to a name. We can see the work is being done to make this book, and the Kickstarter is there to help fund that book. And to me, that's you're reassuring people who may potentially back that book that, hey, I'm a real person. This is a real thing, and we are going to make this happen. You just come along for the ride for me. And then those constant updates, right, on Kickstarter and your social media. You update social media. You go over to Kickstarter. You drop an update. Hey guys, my artist just said he's on page 22, which means there's only about 2 more pages to go. Things are progressing, and then it's off to the inker or whatever it may be, right? And I think, to me, the people who do that, I'm 100% going to be behind. So
that's basically what the videos look like then, and that's what people were doing, and that's where it was at. People were behind supporting independent creators and wanted to know who they were supporting and what they were doing. And it's gotten a lot more. The videos have changed, and the format has changed. It's also become a cottage industry, or not even cottage industry anymore. You have an industry of people like BackerKit and other companies that will sign on and take a portion of your money to send them out for you. And,
but they also help market that book as well.
Yeah. So, you have Kickstarter takes what? By the time they're done, I think they're at 15%.
Yeah, I think so, roughly, yeah.
BackerKit, I don't know. That's another percentage, So
I'm not sure how BackerKit does it if they're taking their percentage from the Kickstarter percentage, because I'm not sure how that one works. I've never really discussed that. This time I have somebody on that is using BackerKit. I'm going to ask that question because I'm curious about that one myself.
Yeah, they, in the beginning, I talked to a lot of creators who, they didn't want to do the shipping themselves, or the numbers started to get bigger, so they would hire BackerKit to take care of it. Some printers now are doing that too.
I know a lot of printers that are doing it.
Yeah, I worked with Comic Impressions out of Florida, and they started doing fulfillment and printing there. And there's I also, I've worked with a bunch of different printers. That's another story anyway. But, the format has changed. Kickstarter's added a lot of things in. So it's become where now like I said, you've got to bring an audience with you. You've got to nurture that audience, bring them in, and you can't just land on there and hope for the best, because it probably won't happen. And there was a time when you could do that, when it was young and fresh and everybody was excited about it. If you had a good image and a decent video talking about what you did, you probably would do well. And I did well. I think at the time, probably my friends and family were the supporters, and the rest all came from there.
Hey, it's a start, though, right?
Of course, you got to start somewhere. And so yeah, it's changed, and the rules have changed. There's this big fear of is Swipe going to not pay you because they deem your project not.
I think that finally got resolved. I think that was about a 30-day debacle there.
Yeah, I don't think it really got resolved. I think what happened was, and I got a letter from Kickstarter telling me that my project could be considered mature readers, and that they're not responsible if Stripe doesn't want to pay me.
That's so fucked up.
So basically, they just well, in the beginning, they said, we're going to change the rules, and here's the new rules: no, not safe for work. And then all the creators got an uproar, and they said, okay, we're not doing that, and nobody's happy, so we're not doing anything. And if Swipe decides it, we'll advocate for you, but that's the best we can do. So basically,
why did they even go with this Bible thumping company anyway? That's what I don't understand.
I don't know. They didn't used to. That's new to me. It was basically they would take the credit cards themselves. Maybe they didn't want to deal with the work they were doing.
I mean, it seems to me like they sold that portion off to a third party, right? And that's what Stripe is a third party. Yeah. I just wish, and it's probably the cheapest company that bid for it too, is how that usually works, right?
Yeah, they probably take the last percentage,
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully that contract isn't long and they are able to cut that more sooner than later.
Well, it
But
hasn't slowed down the not safe for work stuff on there, and they
no,
should
it
keep
seems like there's
it.
even more. They're
Right.
just it's just they're doing it a different way now.
I'm more curious to see numbers on people who are getting later notices from Stripe saying we're not going to pay you. You know, so
Definitely something interesting. Like I wish they would post more statistic type stuff on there, but they don't. So
yeah, it's even tough to find out what was the best-selling comic of the month these days.
yeah,
Nobody's sharing
exactly.
numbers really, and there's not one main distributor, so it's kind
Yeah,
of all over the place. There are some who try to. I've 3 tries, and I mean, occasionally you get some numbers from Heidi McDonald and a few of the other
yeah.
online services. But and there is a. I don't know if you're aware of this. It is called Hot List Comics, and it lists all the Kickstarters based on their sales.
No, I know. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen them
I follow
before.
that for links and to look at
Yeah,
stuff too, So that's a
yeah.
good
I know. I've
source.
seen that list before.
Yeah.
So Apocalypse in Pink represents an interesting hybrid model. You have Kickstarter is letting you fund this book and connect directly with readers, while SourcePoint Press Prana
Mhm.
is helping you move it into a wider marketplace.
Mhm.
Is that combination crowdfunding plus traditional distribution becoming a sustainable model for independent creators that they should be thinking about as well? Because I know we were talking a little bit beforehand. The Indie Comic Alliance is doing something similar to that with what SourcePoint is doing as well.
Well, I dawned on me the other day. It was like I have to be the publisher. I am the publisher. I am the creator, and they will be my distributor. And I will create the product, and I will
Mhm.
sell it and fund it through crowdfunding, and then distribute it through other channels, whether it's my store, SourcePoint Press, Prana, Lunar, whoever
Yeah.
will sell it. So I have to create the book, and I have to print enough to cover all those bases. And so I think that that's basically the new model for independent creators now.
Yeah, it's a great model, and it seems to be working, right? So I mean, why start messing up a good thing the way I see it?
Yeah, and there are people who are unsatisfied with Kickstarter, and they're moving over to places like Fund My Comic, and
Yeah. So Fund My Comic,
yeah,
Zoop.
so
What's the other one? There's another big one in there. I can't remember
mhm.
what it's called, but I'm not a big fan of the other one because the way they do their shipping.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I forget. I did. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. It
Yeah,
would come to mind, but
because
yeah,
they tap me with 2 different shipping fees.
yeah, and that's another thing. I'm a big supporter of Kickstarter, and I was really surprised when I went to fill out the fulfillment thing, and then I had to pay more money for shipping. And I was like,
Yeah, shipping
I
is
didn't know I get my credit card
ridiculous.
out twice.
Like I love all my friends in the independent comic world in the UK and in other places, but if I'm backing a comic book that's $8 or $10, but it's costing me $15 to $18 to get it across to the US, I can't sustainably do that. That's like, and I hate that, right? Because I still want to help my friends. I still want to back my friends in the UK and Europe and Asia, but I can't do it because the shipping isn't affordable anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, I find that most most physical copies sell in the U.S. And digital copies sell overseas for
Yeah,
Kickstarter. And the things that I have sold for overseas are original art.
yeah,
And so if somebody buys the original art, they've obviously got the money to pay the shipping. And so, original art has always been a part of my campaigns. So
yeah.
I'll usually put the cover up or a few of the pages or some of the sketches from some of the other artists. And yeah, so, it's a quandary because a lot of creators now saying don't bother with doing overseas shipping
Yeah.
at all. Or, but I do it anyway and figure, well, if someone wants it, they can get it, but they'll probably buy the digital one,
Yeah.
you know?
So Apocalypse in Pink is celebrating 11 years of Margo. You've already made it clear this isn't the ending for Margo. You have a brand new Intergalactic Trash Collector series planned for 2027. Without giving anything away, or everything away, I should say, that you're working on, where are Margo and her crazy little universe headed in 2027?
Hmm. Well, I'll give you a spoiler. So,
We love spoilers.
what's happened at the end of Apocalypse in Pink is the way that Margo solved the problem was blowing a hole in the universe, and that company she works for has been dumping trash into that universe, and that universe is pretty pissed.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a big battle coming and a big confrontation coming, and so yeah, that's what the new Margo story is basically.
Oh, more wild times for Margo. I love it, dude. That is so awesome. So this Kickstarter for Margo, Intergalactic Trash Collector, Apocalypse in Pink, is launching September the 8th.
September the 8th, yes.
Before I adjourn the council tonight, tell everybody where they can support your work, support the campaign, follow Whiten Studio, and keep up with you. Because you're a busy man and we got to be able to keep up with you.
All right. So I have a web store. It's whitingstudio.com. And I am on Substack under Creating Comics.
Yep.
Jim Whiting, Creating Comics. I can give you the links.
All of them are in the description, Jim.
Okay, great.
I take care of you.
I'm on Facebook. Instagram is Whiting Art.
Yep, all in the description.
Cool. So yeah, again, I'm doing that Ashcan edition, which is a lot of fun. So I'm promoting that right now and hoping that we do a big splash for the Kickstarter when it launches on the 8th. Things are looking pretty good. I've been doing some advertising with the traditional means, and yeah, things are moving along pretty good. It's busy, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, Jim. I'm going to be honest with you. I hit that notify me on launch last night on the Kickstarter so I can make sure that I get my copy of Margo. I'm not letting it get through my hands. But all those links that you just listed are actually down in the description below. The Kickstarter pre-launch is there. Your social media is all there. Y'all go give Jim a follow. Make sure you follow this Kickstarter. Notify you on pre-launch. That way you're able to be a day one guy. You're able to get some of this cool bonus stuff that Jim has planned for this Kickstarter. But Jim, I want to thank you.
Make sure to support the USDN podcast too.
There it is.
We need people like you.
Appreciate you, Jim. It means the world, and I'm so happy that I was able to make this episode happen for you tonight, and put together a pretty darn good show in less than 24 hours, right, Jim?
Oh yeah, that's great. I appreciate you putting the effort in.
It was, like I said, Jim, once I looked up your name and I realized who you were and who was asking me to do a show, I was like, no brainer. I will make this happen for you, Jim. And I'm so happy that I got to have you on the show, and hopefully many more shows down the road. Whenever you're ready to come back, we will happily have you, Jim.
Anywhere. I'll be around for years to come, so we'll be talking more.
I love to hear it, Jim. I'm excited to have you back. But again, Jim, thank you for joining us, giving us a look inside Margo, Intergalactic Trash Collector, Apocalypse in Pink, the journey behind Margo, and everything you've built more than 4 decades in comics, which is absolutely amazing. But to everyone watching and listening, make sure you support Margo. And when the Kickstarter launches on September 8th, and make sure you've hit that notify me on launch. That way you get notified that Margo has launched. Make sure you follow Jim. All those links are down below in the description. I swear to you, they are all there. And keep up with Jim. Find out what's coming next, because he's not going anywhere for a very long time, according to himself. And I'm hope you don't either. But as always, people, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the show. So your support helps us continue putting independent creators and their work in front of new audience. And with that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Nerds is now adjourned, and this has been the USDN podcast, where indie comics come to life. Y'all be safe out there.
It's a trap!